Part 19. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 181. Horikita Suzun said. Anyway, I have to ensure that I get 330 points. Oh. Then also protect my 200 points. Kojinjiro Kusuk sat in the second row. He was originally a little curious about how these Class D students would survive this exam. It turned out that Horikita Suzun had taken action. We need to confiscate everyone's mobile phones, that is to say, let everyone skip the exam directly. After all, after reading the rules of the exam, he knew that it was a game similar to finding an undercover agent. And let the undercover know that he is an undercover from the beginning. Then you need acting skills. But the students in Class D can't do it. So instead of forcing these Class D students to act, it would be better not to know who the preferential treatment is from the beginning. Confiscate all cell phones. So I don't know if I am a preferential treatment person. Then acting doesn't matter. At the same time, this can directly lead to the results of the exam too. And the result of the exam too. That is, if you continue to take the exam until the end of the exam, and then you do not find the favored recipient, or you guess the wrong recipient, then it will end with the favored recipient receiving a reward of 500,000. This way. Although the students in Class D participated in the whole process, they did not make any move. Therefore, it is guaranteed that no points will be deducted or points will be added. But it can maintain the most stable situation for Class D students. In other words, it is a sound plan. It's not a bad idea to think of this solution. So, Juyuanji-san stood up and said. I agree with Horikita girl's approach. I can't believe you guys would do something stupid. If you guess wrong about the favored recipient and your class evaluation points are deducted, then you will definitely be deducted. Why? Syuda looked over. Because that's the score I got, and I won't do stupid things, Gao Yuanji said, so I can guarantee that I won't lose points to the class, but can you? But what if I can get extra points? But at this time, Yukimura Terahiko, who had been staying on the island to take exams, suddenly said. If I could get extra points, wouldn't it be a pity to miss it like this, Yukimura said. And at a time like this. Kushida-san kept smiling, but looked at Horikita Suzun. Horikita Suzun became friends with her last night, but the price was to gather everyone together today and then collect everyone's mobile phones. But she just agreed to assist. So in the end, Horikita Suzun has to do the work of persuading and offending people. And Horikita Suzun did not evade. Think about it for yourself. After you know that you are the preferential recipient, are you sure you can hide it from other classes? Who will get the points deducted from the class in the end? Can it be deducted from you? For example, if it is discovered that the class is the favored one and the class deducts 50 points because of you, then you will have to pay 50 points every month in the future. One person bears half of the loss, which is 25 points, and then x 100 x 40 people, that is, 100,000 points will be paid to the entire class every month. If you are willing to make such a commitment, then you can participate in the answering session, Horikita Suzun said solemnly. Hello. As a top student, Yukimura-san still pays more attention to and trusts Horikita-san, who is also a top student. Result. Are you going to fight him like this now? And be responsible or something? Will I have to pay 100,000 points every month if I make a mistake? How can he have money to give it? Obviously, Horikita-san just set the precedent of making contributions to the class and then getting points from the class evaluation and leaving. And if you are asked to take responsibility for deducting points or something like that. Although I don't know if the school will conduct physical education exams, Yukimura's physical ability is the biggest headache. So he thought to shut up first. Seeing that Yukimura-san stopped talking, others began to wonder whether they should take this risk. Because I guessed it right, If I can get 25 points of evaluation points every month, it will be 100,000, but if I fail, I will be compensated 100,000. Stressed. But I have to say that with such a confrontation, the opposition will be reduced. It's just that if one of us is selected as the preferential recipient but the students were still a little dissatisfied, then the school's reward. If no one discovers your identity as a preferential recipient, then the school will naturally transfer the reward points into your private account, so you don't feel ignorant, and then when the exam is over, you will find that your account has an extra 500,000, which is good. Horikita-san said expressionlessly. 50, 500,000. And if 500,000 other people don't know about it, we won't announce it, so. You can hide secretly, Horikita-suzun said. Oh. In other words, it's like buying a lottery ticket and winning the jackpot. And the students in the class were divided into 12 groups. A favored person will appear in each group. Maybe all 12 favorees are in their class. So isn't it a probability of 12/40ths? So the winning rate is very high. According to what Mr. Hirata learned about after the Kojima exam, each of them can receive 40,000 yuan in living expenses. And now the winning prize is 500,000. It is equivalent to getting 1 year's living expenses on the spot. Still, I want to conduct a systematic examination. For example, if the points are deducted, everyone will bear it together, and then the rewards for the preferential recipients will be equally divided. If there are 4 preferential recipients in our class, they can get a school reward of 2 million, and if they are divided equally, everyone can get 50,000 points. However, Horikita-san's words were interrupted. No. Yamauchi-san said quickly. Horikita-san, I'll give you my phone. I'll give it too. I also. Soon, the boys were fluctuating for points. And the same goes for girls. After all, before this Kojima exam, everyone basically owed points to Kushida-san or Kuruzawa-san. If you can get 500,000, you can pay off a lot of the rest. At the same time, you don't need to tell others about this point, so, it's your own money. Then, the girls also submitted their mobile phones. Because, if one person is chosen to be the preferential recipient and gets 500,000 exclusively, who wants to turn 500,000 into 50,000 equally? So everyone got a spare machine. What's wrong? Horikita-suzun noticed that a boy in the class seemed to hesitate for a moment when he handed over his mobile phone. No. Ayanokaji shook his head. When he was about to submit his mobile phone, he suddenly discovered the best plan for this exam. Maybe 20 million points can be collected. But it seems quite a pity. Because missed. And the other side. Class C is here. Ryuan-sho forces everyone to hand over their mobile phones in front of him. He wanted confirmation information one by one. Chapter 084. You don't know, Sakayanagi Yuzu is a little goblin who likes to lie to people. The current time is 7:58. Everyone puts their cell phones on the table. I want to confirm the information sent by the school later. Don't try to hide it. In the leisure center on the ship, Ryuan said to all the students in Class C that he had gathered. From the first week after enrolling, Ryuan-sho has been doing the same thing. That is to use violence to conquer the class. Then turn the entire Class C into a place where he talks alone. The students in Class C are not very good at basic accessories, although there are some top students like Shiina and Kaneda. And Albert, Ibuki, and Ishizaki are also very good at fighting. But other aspects are unsatisfactory. Including Long Yuan himself. However, since this school has such an interesting way of class competition, is it too early to give up now? Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 182. Therefore, in Ryuan's view, Class C can become a sharp weapon if used properly. As a result, after he had just gathered Class C, he found that 36 students hated him, and then these guys were defrauded of money by Oreki Houtarou from Class A. In the end, the contract with Oreki Houtarou was settled at the cost of the class losing more than 2 million points. Then the other party defrauded me of 800,000 points in school, and even left a criminal record. So, the test on the small island was directly frustrated, survival in the true sense of the wilderness on the small island, and then the score was 0. Even in the agreement with Class B to convert the basic points into living expenses, he could not deduct it because of the failure in this exam. Finally, when I returned to school, because my class evaluation score was exceeded by Class D, I was also in danger of being dropped from the class. Look at it this way. It's indeed a bit miserable. And now, although I lost another 50,000 points, I still couldn't make arrangements in advance. But yesterday I took the preferential treatment test and learned the rules. He immediately recognized that the main point of this exam was indeed to obtain information about the preferential treatment recipients. It is important to have the information about the preferential recipients, whether it is to arrange for people to act or to obtain information about other classes. At the same time, Class C has an advantage here. That is, he can confirm it himself to avoid being deceived by his classmates. In this exam, as long as the preferential candidate is selected, it means that he will be given preferential treatment by the school. There is a 75% probability of receiving a reward of 500,000 minus 1 million points. 500,000. For current Class C, this is 10 months of living expenses. So there will definitely be people excited. After all, as long as you hide it well, you can get the information of the school's guaranteed deposit of 500,000 yuan at the end of the exam once the final transfer notification sound is turned off. In other words, if you don't pay attention to this exam, it will turn into a situation where the students in your class are neurotic and hide betrayals from each other. But this can't be done, because all students' mobile phones will be checked by him. No matter who wants to hide the information of the preferential recipient, it is not allowed. You're doing it again. Long Yuan, now we are surpassed by Class D. If we don't get the score in this test, then we will become Class D, a student said. It seems to be an action to resist the information being read. Shut up, Long Yuan said. Or do you want to do it? If the information about the preferential recipient is guessed, 50 points from the class evaluation will be deducted first, and then the value of these points will be paid by you. Can you do this? If you are willing to bear the responsibility for failure, then I will not check your phone. For it. The student immediately shut up. This time on the small island exam, Ryuan signed an agreement with Class B from the beginning. So regardless of the exam results, Class C can get Class B's 600,000 living expenses until graduation. Divided up, 15,000 per person. Although it's not much, it's still enough to survive. Although, the results of Kojima's exam were indeed terrible. All three ABC classes received a large number of class evaluation points. But on the first day on the island, they also knew that Class C had started slowly. The savage from Jiyuan Temple on the other side of Class D had occupied most of the strongholds on the island. So it's just a joke. And Class D and Class A are working together. Then it is normal for them to lose here. Not to mention, Ryuan, Ibuki, Ishizaki and Kaneda were left to continue the exam. And they all went back to the ship to rest. Enjoy. Rest. So. Take advantage of everything. And it's really not good to have BB now. Kaneda, who was sitting closest to Ryuan, took the initiative to offer his mobile phone. Kaneda is a supporter of Ryuan, and his academic ability is not weak, so he took the initiative to take the lead, and some students began to hand over their mobile phones. But the next boy submitted his cell phone, and suddenly realized that Ryuan seemed to be not just looking at his messages, but clicked on his student ID card. You took money from Class A. Are you trying to betray our class? Ryuan slapped him. 100,000. You sold it for 100,000. The reward for this preferential treatment is 500,000. Are you a pig? Long Yuan said. For it. The student was sweating profusely and didn't know how to refute. Among the transfer information opened by Long Yuan, there was a transfer of 100,000 points. Before Kojima took the exam, he was contacted and bribed by Masayoshi Hashimoto of Class A. He wants to establish a long-term cooperation with Hashimoto. He needs the other party to give him money every month. But he was rejected by Hashimoto, but he contacted him yesterday and said he was willing to give him 100,000 points in advance. If the information of the preferential treatment recipients in his class can be collected, 200,000 will be given to him if the information of one preferential treatment recipient can be collected. So 100,000 is the deposit. The real reward is definitely more. But let's just think so for now if Ryuan thinks so. After all, if he tells the truth, he will immediately be regarded as a sinner who betrayed the class. Although, it was indeed a betrayal. And Long Yuan had already looked at the other students. Open your student ID cards and show them to me, Long Yuan said. As a result, an operation to check the preferential treatment turned into clearing out the spies in the class. Ryuan was quite annoyed. Canada, who was the first to submit his mobile phone, was also in a daze. Because the people in the class are not reliable enough. Ryuan had deliberately allowed people in his class to socialize. On the one hand, he was planning to use the torture plan, and at the same time, he also wanted to take the opportunity to deal with the spies in his class. As a result, as soon as this matter came out, a spy appeared in the class. Or maybe there is a spy in my class. At the same time, he also knew the reason why Long Yuan was angry. Because Class C can't afford to lose now. Others don't know, but they know that as soon as they return to school, the students in Class B will go to the student union to report. Although Ibuki and Ishizaki were carrying out a bitter plan. But in the eyes of others, they were indeed beaten by Ryuan. Then Long Yuan still has a criminal record. So the class is definitely minus 100 points class evaluation score. Then in this exam, if there is another loss, Class C may be in chaos by then. You may also miss an opportunity and it will be difficult to take pictures in the future. Therefore, Long Yuan must seize this opportunity to take the exam. A lot of pressure. And if there is another spy in the class, if someone leaks information about a favored person, it will be another minus 50 points. No one can bear it by then. Finally, only the student from the beginning received money from Class A. He was punished by squatting. In the process, Ryuan also obtained the information about the preferential recipients of his class. 3 favorees. Shiina, what do you think? After confirming the list of 4 preferential recipients, Ryuan returned the phone. But he looked at Shiina aside. After Shiina was called here, she was busy with paper and pen. Hiri. I always feel a little concerned about it, Shiina said. I categorized the results of the exam. Hiri said. And there was actually a piece of paper on her desk. Above are the 4 test results. It is also divided into a process of rushing to answer and not to rush to answer. If the group members don't rush to answer, then if you answer between 9:30 and 10 p.m. on the 3rd day of the exam, you will see. Result 1, the group members guessed the identity of the favored recipient. 50 W for each member of the group, 1 million for those with preferential treatment. Result 2, no points will be deducted if the identity of the preferential recipient is not guessed or the guess is wrong. Those with preferential treatment will receive 50 W individually. And in the case of rushing to answer, Quickly guess the identity of the favored recipient of the group, guess the correct class, add 50 points, individual add 50 W, favored recipients class minus 50 points. The identity of the preferential recipient of the wrong answer group, the class with the wrong answer minus 50 points, the preferential recipient 500,000, the preferential recipients class add 50 points, dot. The final result is these four. Long Yun has finished reading this note. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 183. In fact, he did not go to sleep immediately when he returned to the cabin yesterday, but also reorganized the rules and results of the exam. He is also a quite intelligent man. Otherwise, during the small island exam, each class would get 300 basic points, but they would need to settle the balance at the end of the exam, and then go to reduce risks and find cooperation with Class B. The results of the analysis are similar to those analyzed by Shiana. Although there are 12 preferential recipients and 3 in our class, there are still 9 in other classes. I think we can try to guess other classes. If we guess one, we will get 50 points. For example, Class D's class evaluation score is higher than ours, but we can guess the information of one of their preferential recipients. Then they are minus 50 points and we are at 50 points. It can make a 100-point difference here, Shiana said. The current evaluation scores for the 4 classes are as follows. Class A 1,801 points. Class B 970 points. Class C 490 points. Class D has a score of 730. Class ranking is fluid. Whoever has higher scores is in the upper class. If the upper class has too few points, it will fall down. Then back at school, their Class C really fell off. It may become a shame for the few C classes in the school to become D classes. However, as long as you guess the identities of the 3 preferential recipients of Class D will deduct 50x3, and their Class C add 50x3, then the status of Class C can be kept. In other words, Shiana is standing from the perspective of the class. We must maintain our position in Class C. But it's difficult. Dan Longyuan shook his head. When I was taking the exam on the island, I heard the reason why Itchy Nose was able to make a comeback. There are traces of Oreki Houtarou from Class A among them. At the same time, I also understand the determination of that monster in Jeyuan Temple. He changed the team leader by making himself sick. He is a ruthless person. And this kind of ruthless person didn't take care of the class after enrolling in the school. The class evaluation score of Class D was directly reduced to 0. And now he is working so hard on the exam on the island. Obviously it's not for the class. It's for himself. That's why Class D got so many points on the Kojima exam this time. I speculate that Kojinji Temple must have taken part of it. And if you want Class D to reduce their scores, aren't you just trying to draw the blood of Jeyuanji? He will definitely fight back violently, Ryuan said. According to Hiri's method, Class C can be brought up. But it is really difficult. That wild man at Jeyuan Temple is very capable of deceiving people, and he is also very ruthless. Long Yuan felt that there was no need to directly confront him now. And Oreki Houtarou is also involved in this matter. He really likes to be with beautiful girls like Horikita Suzun and Kushida Kikyo from Class D. So, it is impossible to completely ignore the affairs of my girlfriend's class. This is also a troublesome place. At the same time, I have a different view than you, Long Yuan said. This school is both about strength and points. As for Class A, only the third-year Class A during the third-year graduation period is useful. In the middle process, accumulating points is the real thing. So, what I'm interested in is result 1, Long Yuan said. Result 1. Group members do not rush to answer, so if they answer between 9:30 and 10 p.m. at the end of the exam on the third day, the following will appear. Result 1. The group members guess the identity of the favored recipient. 50W for each member of the group, 1 million for those with preferential treatment. But this plan looks very good and everyone can make money. Each group contains students from 4 classes, so each group also has 3-4 students from its own class. If one person gets 500,000 points, then a group can get 1.5-2 million points in their own class. The 12 groups combined have nearly 20 million points. It does look good. Made a fortune. And with so many points as starting capital, it will be more convenient to use them in subsequent exams. Class C really has no money now. So from this perspective, Long Yuan did see a good direction. Looking at it this way, it seems that she just wanted to keep her position in Class C a little narrowly. So just wait and see, Ryuan said. This time the exam. I'm bound to win. After all, this is the battle plan that I spent all night thinking about last night. And at the same time, at 8 o'clock, Oreki received a message with the logo XF from the school. I'm sorry that you were not selected as a preferential candidate, but please continue to work hard on the exam. Just quick. In less than 1 minute, his mobile phone received 4 messages again. It was a classmate from Class A who contacted him with information about being selected as a preferential recipient. He reported his name. After Katsuragi-san, on behalf of the Katsuragi faction, expressed his willingness to follow the Outcome 1 plan, Oreki went to find Hashimoto. Then, the Sakayanagi faction also agreed with his plan. So after obtaining the information, the preferential treatment recipients of Class A contacted him proactively. Because not only can they maintain their status in Class A without losing points, but everyone can also earn 250,000 points for free after the exam. Where can I find such good things? Definitely accept it. The students in Class A are quite transparent. And beside Oreki-san is Kamuro-san. After getting the information about the preferential recipients, he asked her to sort out the member lists of the 12 groups. It seems so. 12 groups, 12 preferential treatment, if the exam is regular. Then the number of preferential recipients in each class is also regular. All 3. However, the information of the 3 selected preferential treatment recipients is now known. But just 3 students in my class is not enough. After all, apart from Kosake and Agia, we have to find patterns in the names of the remaining 159 students. It's too difficult. What we need to wait for now is the information about the preferential recipients of Class D. The other side. Over there at the drama theater. The students left the theater after handing over their mobile phones and receiving their own backup phones. Kusada and Horikita Suzun stayed behind. They still have follow-up work. Students' mobile phones need to be placed in small bags with everyone's name written on them. This is for convenience when returning the phone. After all, everyone has the same phone. And because when Zyugia was taking an exam, everyone's cell phones were collected by the teacher once. So they asked Chibashira-sensei to borrow these bags. But teacher Chibashira still has these small bags, which means that they may be used in the future, which means that this school is really full of complicated exams. However, because it was just after 8 o'clock, all students received a unified message from the school to determine whether they had been selected as preferential treatment recipients. The mobile phones submitted by the students were not turned off. So the information will be revealed. Horikita Suzun expressionlessly confirmed the information on her cell phone one by one and put it in her bag. Kusada Horikita Suzun suddenly said. Are you the preferential one? Kusada. Kusada-san's cell phone hasn't been put into the bag yet. And she was just looking at her own messages. She did receive a special message from the school. Congratulations, you have been selected as a preferential recipient. Because she was surprised, she confirmed it twice in a row. However, Kushida, who was about to turn off his cell phone, suddenly paused when he heard this. He seemed to be looking at Horikita with some confusion. I'm the favored one or something dash. Is this information important? Wait a moment. Didn't our class choose to put away their mobile phones this time for the exam, and then pass the exam like this? Kushida asked quickly. So why do you need to know information about the preferential recipient? She felt as if she had overlooked something. Absolutely, Horikita-san said. Oh. Pretty much. Kushida. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 184. I believe you. Kushida's cute brows slightly arched. Because she just discovered that when Horikita Suzun was putting away her cell phone, she asked her to open the bag. Then Horikita Suzun confirmed the information on the phone, turned off the phone, and finally handed the phone to her. Horikita's behavior just now was a bit revealing. But Kushida didn't say anything. After all, maybe Horikita-san is just slow in doing things. She had just gained the other person's friendship and was still very tolerant. So I don't want to doubt her. Result. Is Horikita Suzun really checking the information about the favorees of her classmates? That is to say, Horikita Suzun's plan for everyone to hand over their mobile phones and pass the exam directly, is a sham. I'm afraid not. The real purpose is to collect information from the favored recipients. And she also noticed that Horikita Suzun didn't put her cell phone in the bag. That is to say, she was used at gunpoint. If it were Horikita himself, then everyone would definitely not submit their mobile phones obediently. In other words, Horikita Suzun couldn't even summon the entire class. And this kind of thing. This time's exam, Kushida said, does it mean that you and Oreki are making money again? It's cooperation, Horikita Suzun said. And after the exam is over, I will transfer 200,000 to you. Transfer 200,000. Transfer 200,000 or something. And would you, Horikita Suzun, be so generous? Don't think I don't know. You obviously have a lot of points, but you are frugal. And lunch is just a rice ball. The explanation is very tricky. And to be so generous now, in other words, Oreki Houtarou made a lot of money from his plan this time. So is that really the case? Is that really the case? She knew that Horikita Suzun couldn't ask for favors from her for no reason. He also directly agreed to be friends with her, which made her feel wrong. In the end, Horikita Suzun made money with Oreki Houtarou again, and then he didn't call her? And this kind of behavior of not taking her with you can't be called a friend at all. Even Kushida-san, who said she wanted to be friends with everyone, wanted to exclude people from her circle of friends for the first time. The two then went to the ship's valuables locker. Then leave the key here with me, Horikita Suzun said. Kushida. Kushida felt bored. To be precise, the whole process was boring. She found out that she was being used as a gun and was in a bad mood. And Horikita Suzun and Oreki Houtarou need to obtain information about the recipients of Class D. So, what is this intended to do? But no matter what we do, Class D will definitely suffer some losses. So, is she going to take the blame? It's really enough. Oreki also waited for a message from Horikita Suzun's cell phone. The information of the 4 preferential recipients of Class D was submitted. However, after obtaining the information of the 6 preferential recipients, Oreki did not let Kamuro give him the lists of all 12 groups, and then he looked for patterns. Instead, Kamuro-san manually entered all the list information of the 12 group members into his mobile phone. And after making notes on all the names of the 6 recipients that have been obtained, edit and send them to Sakayanagi Arisu's mobile phone number. For Kamuro-san, this feels like another troublesome thing that Oreki-san is enslaving her with. Because the information is clearly in front of you, but you still want her to make an electronic version. Just make it an electronic version. As a result, it had to be sent to Sakayanagi Yuzu. You must know that Sakayanagi is in school now, and every day only in the evening, he will go to the school gate and use points to gain permission to send and receive messages and make phone calls. And this is also the regular contact she needs to make to Sakayanagi Arisu recently. So if you send the message now, Sakayanagi will probably only receive it in the evening. This makes Kamuro-san feel very troublesome. She knew that Oreki was very smart, so since he wanted to deduce the rules of preferential treatment, then you can do it yourself. So, why should we recommend it to Sakayanagi Yuzu? Sakayanagi-san is unable to take the exam due to health reasons, Oreki said, but she is a member of class A after all, and after that, due to health reasons, there may be some sports-related exams that she will have to abstain from. And always abstaining is not a good thing. So, I want to try to make sure she's involved. Oh. In other words, this is to improve Sakayanagi Arisu's image. And letting Sakayanagi Arisu participate in deriving the rules of preferential treatment, Indeed. If the law of preferential treatment is deduced, it is indeed a great achievement. After all, Oreki Houtarou, are you still so considerate? Talk. Kamuro was a little curious. I always feel that your attitude towards Sakayanagi has changed recently, Kamuro-san said. Will you? Oreki-san turned around. Yes, Kamuro-san nodded affirmatively. At least you didn't think about maintaining Sakayanagi-san's image before. But what Sakayanagi Arisu said is that you always want to shift all kinds of responsibilities to her. So, something is very wrong with you. And this kind of performance. Could it be that? Kamuro-san suddenly thought of something. The reason why a person can change so quickly is probably what those Baichi girls say, love. Indeed. Sakayanagi is cute. It's normal to be tempted by her. Moreover, Sakayanagi did not come to take the exam, and twice in a row left the members of the Itayanagi faction to Oreki to drive at will. So I also felt this heavy heart. But what a pity. Because Kamuro-san knew that Sakayanagi had said that if she became the student council president, she would not let Oreki Houtarou join the student council. In other words, she is about to become the student council president. As a result, there are so many positions in the student council, but they don't even give you points. So, Oreki-san, you may have finally been tempted once, but you also lost miserably. Sakayanagi-san is the kind of person who is very good at lying. Your current heartbeat is just being used. Think so. Suddenly she felt a little comfortable, because she had just experienced being tempted by the other person, and it turned out to be a dark history. Thinking like this. Kamuro-san noticed that Oreki Houtarou was looking at her. What to do? Now looking at the other party's dark green pupils, Kamuro-san, who had already been deceived once, deliberately kept a straight face. But it is undeniable that this guy does have the capital to attract girls' attention. Don't be in a daze and keep working, Oreki-san said in a puzzled manner. The divine room. The divine room. Oh. So Kamuro-san continued the work of editing names with deliberate inefficiency. But your movements are a little slow. Finally, Oreki-san, who sat aside and watched Kamuro-san work for more than 20 minutes, said. Because Kamuro edited all the information and sent it to Sakayanagi Arisu's mobile phone number. The announcement has already sounded on the ship. It's time for discussion every day from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. are your discussion times. Now inform each group of the room number to go to. Teacher Mashima's voice immediately came over the radio. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 185. The rabbit group goes to 204, the dragon group goes to 203, the snake group goes to 205, the horse group goes to room 206, the sheep group goes to room 207. It's already 9 o'clock in the morning. It is a step-by-step group discussion twice a day in the examination rules, providing time for group members to identify and find preferential treatment in the group. Oreki-san didn't pause. Get ready to go to room 204 where the announcement will be made. Then I'll go to the monkey group, Kamuro-san said. The room number for the monkey group is 209. Although they are both on the second floor, they are in two different directions. So the two of them ran towards their respective room numbers around the corner. Since he spent some time with Kamuro-san, Oreki trotted over. But different from last night, room 204, which is more than 30 square meters, has a lot more people. Most of the rabbit team members who came here to comply with the exam rules have arrived. Takemoto-san and Machida-san, both students from Class A, have already arrived. 3 students from Class D also came. And Class D is here. The first thing I saw was a slightly fat boy, then a boy who looked inarticulate, and then a boy wearing glasses. And Oreki has seen the list and information of the entire grade. So I recognized it all at once. These 3 people are Hideo Tamura, Akito Miyake, and Terahiko Yukimura. Then we can also know some general information. Sotomura is good at computers, Miyake Akito seems to be very good at bow and arrow, and Yukimura Terahiko is the top student in Class D. His academic ability is lower than that of Horikita Suzune. And finally there is Megami Kuruzawa. But Oreki-san circled around and couldn't see Kuruzawa. But I also saw a few girls. Those are students from Class C. They are all girls, and they are basically acquaintances. There are clearly 3 classes of students in the room, but these students don't seem to interact with each other. There are open chairs in the room, but they sit in different positions. There is a dull atmosphere. Oreki-san, here Machida-san waved to Oreki. There is no problem sitting together as students in Class A. Oreki sat down, but there was an empty chair to his right. But the atmosphere hasn't changed. But it makes people feel like they have seen spring. Because the original situation of students in several classes being separated from each other has been changed. Hello, everyone. And Oreki-san. This is a cute and energetic greeting. And this girl, who is smiling like an angel that makes people bump into each other, is the most popular girl among the first graders. Hanamichi knows. Not only because she is cute, nor because she is big, but her temperament and atmosphere make people want to get in touch with her. Because this is the first year Archangel, Hanamichi knows. Have quite a few friends. Has considerable affinity. At the same time, he is also the only student who has a good relationship with students in all 4 classes. So as soon as she arrived, the atmosphere immediately came alive. And in this case, the students are basically here. But the list of 14 people currently in the rabbit group is as follows. Class A, Takemoto Shigeru, Machida Koji, Oreki Houtarou. Class B, Hanamichi knows, Tetsuya Hamaguchi, Ryota Bippu. Class C, Mio Ibuki, Shiho Manabe, Nami Yabuna, Saki Yamashita. Class D, Miyake Akito, Kuruzawa Megami, Sotomura Hideo, Yukimura Terahiko. 13 people have come, and the one remaining is Kuruzawa Megami. And Kuruzawa is really late. She was obviously late and seemed to frown when she saw the people in the room. And she also glanced at the boys in her class. The boys also glanced at her, but pretended not to notice. But she didn't seem to have anything to say to them. Although they were in the same class, Kuruzawa's relationship with them was average, or not good at all. a boy accidentally bumped into Kuruzawa's desk and caused her pencil to fall to the ground. She scolded the boy directly. Quite fierce. As a result, she was quite unpopular among the boys in the class. Even though, she looks quite cute. And people like Yamauchi who only look at her face will judge her as a dirty and old hottie. It's just that her cute appearance is genuine, because almost all the boys in other classes focus on her, probably because they are comparing themselves with the girls in their own class. Kuruzawa's gaze seemed to circle the room. Leave it here with Oreki. There is still an empty seat here, Kuruzawa-san seemed to be muttering. But just when Oreki thought she was sitting next to him, he found that she had moved the chair to one side. Keep a distance from him. Oreki-san. Chapter 085. Are you here to consult me? Isn't there only one result for the exam? Kuruzawa-san seems to have a hard time getting along with the boys in the class. Just ignored them. Then she saw that there was an empty seat next to Oreki-san, so she sat directly over, but then moved the chair away. Maintained distance. Small actions can cause great harm. But Oreki-san also knows that Kuruzawa is very fond of him. Whether it is from the precognitive dream or the state displayed by the other party, they are consistent. And now the action. Probably because they are not in the same class, and Kuruzawa still has a preconceived idea that he helped her in the past, and she didn't want to trouble him, so she has been using her own way to protect herself. And now, doing this is also pretending that you don't know him. Although I knew this, I felt a little disappointed when I found out that she had moved the chair away. But as a person with keen insight, Oreki knew that if she just pretended not to know him, or acted a little bit like he was approaching him, this was what ordinary girls might do. Then she won't stand out. Only. Now I deliberately pretended not to know him, and even moved the chair away, which meant I needed to show off. Why do you need to show off? In other words, besides him, is there anyone else in this room who needs Kuruzawa's attention? Who needs to be shown her relationship with him that they pretend they don't know each other? Still saying something happened, she couldn't handle it. So Oreki-san recorded it first. Kuruzawa's move to move a chair was just a small move, and not many people paid attention to it. After all, there is an exam to be conducted now. And now, how will the exam be conducted? Anyway, although I know most of you, it seems that some of you still don't know each other. Why don't you introduce yourself? Archangel Ichino's Hanamai from Class B said. She is very good at setting the mood. Especially at this time, the person who takes the initiative to speak first can easily take control. But it's not her character to be so strong. So maybe it means that Class B this time actually wants to take it seriously. And then get the win. Of course. Previously, Oreki-san only asked them to provide information about the group members, but after the exam, he did not ask for cooperation or any other requests. So now Ichino's performance is her own idea. Class evaluation scores for the 4 classes are as follows. Class A 1801. Class B 970. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 186. Class C 490 points. Class D, 730 points. For Class B, the gap between Class B and Class A has been widened by more than 800 points. Alexander. Class D came from behind and got extremely close. Only 240 points are missing. So I felt that my future was bleak and I felt the pressure from behind. Moreover, this time the test is in the answering process. If you guess a favored person correctly, then the class evaluation score of the favored person's class will be minus 50 points. The class that answers successfully gets add 50 points. If you guess the identity of a favored person from another class, you can move back to the 100-point gap. And these are 12 groups. Each group has students from Class B. So students from Class B in each group can work hard. However, you cannot guess your own class. Oreki felt that Ichino's popularity made her know the identities of the 3 preferential treatment recipients in her class. So, in addition to protecting the 3 favorers of your own class, you can guess the information of the favorers of other classes in the other 9 groups. So, among them, whether they guess the preferential recipients of Class A or Class D, for them, it will directly widen or shorten the 100-point class evaluation score gap. So they couldn't refuse. Yes. So not only Ichi knows, but also the students from Class B in other groups are probably working hard now. The students in Class B are little angels, and most of them are also good at sociability. So this is a battlefield suitable for them. Would you like to introduce yourself? Then I'm coming. The 3 boys in Class D seemed to find the atmosphere oppressive and unable to cope with it, so they responded immediately after Ichino said this. The girls in Class C didn't have any objections either. Ryuan allowed the students of Class C to have contact with other classes, so they also got to know Ichino's. But I don't know much about the students in other classes. I am Hideo Sotomura from Class D. I am good at using computers and have some computer skills. Miyake Akito is average in terms of academic ability and sports. Yukimura Terahiko, I like reading. These are 3 boys from Class D. Because it was Class D who started the introduction, everyone quickly looked at the 4th student from Class D. Hui was using the backup phone and seemed to be bored looking at the phone screen. But she also noticed the looks of people around her. So he said, Kuruzawa Megami, I have no special preferences. What a bad attitude, said the girl from Class C. My name is Manabe Shiho. Oreki-kun, do you still remember me? Oreki-san. I remember everyone who spoke to me. Yeah. The other party seemed satisfied. This Manabe Shiho was one of the first members of Class C to be deceived when Oreki led Horikita and Kushida to open a store to cheat money. And Oreki felt it. Kuruzawa-san, who was looking at his phone just now, seemed to be looking over. Well. And the introductions continue. I'm Nami Yabuna. If you're interested, I'm a little interested in sewing. Saki Yamashita, I don't have a boyfriend at the moment. Then the 3 students from Class C were introduced, and everyone turned their attention to the 4th person from Class C. It was a girl with short blue hair. She had been reading Gone with the Wind since she entered the house. The way she read was a little strange, and she frowned from time to time. It doesn't look like he is enjoying reading a book. And although she is a student in Class C, she is sitting alone in the corner. Ibuki. It's your turn, and Manabe-san called the other person's name. Ha! Ibuki seemed stunned for a moment. But she also realized that everyone was looking at her. Ibuki Rei. Then a fairly short introduction was given. Tch Manabe-san curled his lips. It seems that Ibuki doesn't fit in with others. And Ibuki is indeed unsociable. Oreki-san recorded it. Moreover, he discovered that Ibuki had done spying in Class B when she was taking the exam on Kojima. As a result, the 2 students from Class B who came with itchy nose were looking at her angrily, but she seemed to be fine. Continue to read books by yourself. There was absolutely no realization that I had done something terrible. In other words, he doesn't care about other people's eyes at all. Then Itchy Nose also introduced himself, although everyone knew it. The 2 boys in her class also introduced her. The list of 14 people currently in the rabbit group is as follows. Class A, Takemoto Shigeru, Machida Koji, Oreki Houtarou. Class B, Hanamai Itchy Nose, Tetsuya Hamaguchi, Ryota Bippu. Class C, Ibuki Mio, Manabe Shiho. Class D, Miyake Akito, Kurosawa Megami, Sotomura Hideo, Yukimura Terahiko. Finally, we arrived at Class A. Compared to Ichino's, Oreki-san is actually quite popular. Most of the students in the 4 classes also know him. But, ahem. Machida-san glanced at Oreki-san. As a student of Class A, Oreki-san said nothing. In other words, it's the same as before. Let's move towards the results together before 9:30 to 10 o'clock on the last day of the exam. 1. Before this, all the students in Class A adopted a non-joining attitude. So he stood up. Regarding this exam, our students in Class A are not prepared to participate in the discussion. The rules of the examination are to find the preferential recipients, confirm the preferential recipients, and then whether to send the preferential recipients' information to the school and so on. And if you don't discuss or talk, then you won't reveal information about yourself or the favored person in your class. Because everyone is human, whether they are trying to act or cover up, they are not professionals, so it is easy for others to see it. That being the case, then there is no need to hide or act, we just don't talk. Just that kind of thing. Don't you think this is too much? Ichino said quickly, now is the time for the special examination. And it's just introducing yourself. Although the Code of Conduct exam is over, it is still assessment time. Since the exam rules require us to talk, if we refuse completely, we will probably be given a very low evaluation. After all, there are cameras in this room now. Maybe our class teacher is watching. Machida-kun, Ichino said. Machida was directly identified. It means that little angel Ichinos has done his homework and collected information about the students in Class A. Is that so dash? After discovering the camera in a corner of the ceiling, Machida suddenly panicked. As a student of Class A, although I am superior, I also have weaknesses. Students in Class A are selected and placed in Class A through a complex set of evaluations conducted by the school. The hardware panel looks great. But their own people know that they are not good enough in this class against a school. Therefore, I can only rely on trustworthy and reliable outstanding classmates to take me flying. At the same time, because I am a student in Class A, I am also very concerned about evaluation. Ichino said this, and he was already worried about whether his evaluation was declining. It's definitely okay to introduce yourself, Oreki-san said at this time. I'm Oreki Houtarou. I don't have any special interests, but I believe in not doing things that don't have to be done, and doing things that must be done in a simple way. In other words, you are an energy conservationist. This is the first time everyone has heard of this, so it is a bit new. Ahem. Machida and Takemoto also quickly introduced themselves. Just like that, the first round of introductions ended. But it's just like what Oreki said. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 187. He is an energy saver and doesn't like to do unnecessary things. The plan this time is for all students to take result 1, and then everyone will get 80-90 million points together. Then he harvested half of the points. And now look. The students in Class B have their own ideas, or Ichinos, and the others seem to want to seize this opportunity to correct the gap in class evaluation scores. This is more troublesome. Because if you guess one group, you will lose the chance of the entire group to get 7-8 million points. Therefore, it is directly related to whether Oreki-san can get 40 million in the end. He has already accumulated 20 million points. It took more than 2 months to save. It takes a lot of time and effort. But now, there is a 40 million reward directly in front of you, and it only takes 3 days to get it. Oreki-san wants this kind of efficiency. After all, if you want to harvest huge amounts of points in the future, you may only be able to take advantage of the situation during various critical periods in the third or second grade. It also has a bad reputation. So, now, if the students in Class B and Class C are obsessed with guessing the information about the recipients of other classes, then we need to deal with it. Thinking like this. Ichinose-kun, what do you think is the best choice for our group's exam this time? Oreki said. Me, Ichinose blinked lightly. I hope to move towards outcome 1. Because, since everyone knows the rules last night, my personal opinion is that it would be better if everyone chooses the first one. That is to say, everyone will publish the answers to the identity of the preferential recipients between 9:30 and 10 o'clock on the third day, so that each of us can get 500,000 points. We will not be deducted from the class evaluation score. What do you think of this proposal? That is to say, we should take the direction of common prosperity. Common prosperity. It has been 3 months since everyone came to this school. I also basically know the rules of this school. At the same time, I also get X100 from the class evaluation score every month for living expenses in this school. However, except for Class A, which is relatively wealthy, the other classes are, living a tight life, and Class D, for example, has been suffering from hunger and cold for 2 months. So after hearing Ichinose say that he wanted everyone to earn 500,000 together, he immediately turned his attention. Although Horikita-san put their mobile phones away. But I didn't say that I wouldn't return it to them in the end. So if the whole group doesn't defect and choose outcome 1, everyone gets 500,000 points. The 3 boys in Class D were shaken. The same goes for students in Class C. Class C seemed to have good grades in the class evaluation, but because they participated in Oreki-san's plan to open a store and then were raided by Ryuan, they actually had a pretty miserable life. And if you can get points, even if you may be asked to hand over some to Ryuan, you can still get some, right? Then, in the rabbit group of 14 people, half of the students were already shaken. And Ichinose chose outcome 1. This is the plan Oreki-san wants. But it's a bit of a pity. Ichinose-san, you are dishonest. Think so? It seems that our rabbit team's recipient has confirmed that he is not in Ichinose's class, Oreki-san said suddenly. Why do you say that? She blinked slightly, but the expressions of the 2 Class B classmates behind her changed. After noticing this, Oreki-san smiled. Ichinose immediately felt bad. Everyone in Class B trusts her, and she trusts everyone. For this time's preferential candidate test, it will be easier to take action if you know the information about the preferential recipients in your class. So she revealed the information that she was not a preferential treatment person. Then the person who wants to be chosen for preferential treatment comes to her. Then quickly, she got the information of 3 preferential treatment recipients in the class. Therefore, the 2 classmates in the same class are not preferential treatment themselves, and then they also know that Ichinose is not a preferential treatment person. That's why I reacted to Oreki-san's words. This made Ichinose immediately feel defeated. Because, if he wanted to deceive them, then Oreki-san has succeeded. Are the students in classes still so scary? But she is a girl and is good at acting. So she kept her cuteness just now and looked at him with moist eyes. Why do you say that? Oreki-san. Ichinose used Archangel's cute attack. Because I am a student of Class A and you are a student of Class B and you, Ichinose, are still struggling. Oreki-san felt the offensive immediately, but it was a 40 million plan anyway, so he arrived and said, the final result of this exam on the island is that the gap between your Class B and our Class A has increased. Then if we can't reduce the gap as much as possible in this exam, then, in this year, you will have no chance to advance further, Oreki-san said. So you can't pass up this opportunity. Then choose common prosperity or something. As long as I reveal that the person receiving the preferential treatment from the rabbit group this time is in my class, then you will immediately betray and rush to answer for it. That's it? Indeed. Itchy nose sweated. Because the gap between Class B and Class A is huge, more than 800 points, if we don't reduce it now, everyone will have no motivation in the future. Therefore, the battle plan this time is to obtain as much information as possible about the preferential recipients of other classes. Then answer the question. Recover the gap. Only. Why do you say that? Why do you say that if you don't seize this opportunity, you won't be able to move up in the next year? But at this time, the same words were spoken by Yukimura Terahiko from Class D. He is the top student in Class D and one of the few who can listen to what others say. At the same time, he is probably someone who hopes to be promoted to Class A. Oreki-san glanced at him and said, referring to last month's written test, the highest score is only the class evaluation score of 100 points. It turns out that the small island exam and this time's assessment of the preferential candidates all scored high. The school is not a fool. It rewards everyone with a bunch of class evaluation points every time, because they also want to cash in the money and give it to us for living expenses. These are costs. So, I think the school may only have such a big score once or twice a year. So even after returning to school, in the special examinations every month, the maximum reward for each examination may only be 100 minus 200 points. So from now on, no matter how hard the students in Class B work, even if they all get high scores, they will not be able to shorten the gap with Class A. So we can only grasp this. And the same goes for Class D. If you can maintain the large number of evaluation points obtained in this island exam in this time's preferential treatment test, and you don't need to worry about the exams after that, Oreki-san said. For it. Yukimura Terahiko was a little embarrassed. Because Class D's score is 730 points, of which 530 points are allocated to Horikita-san and Takahiraji, so only 200 points belong to them. Although according to what Oreki-san said, the class evaluation score rewards for subsequent exams will be relatively small. Then there are less points deductions and the like. But what is protected in this way is only the class evaluation scores of Horikita-san and Takahiraji-san. Because Takahiraji and Horikita-san made it clear today that if points are deducted, everyone's points will be deducted as well. So he was a little embarrassed. Although Class B has strong attacks, Oreki-san continued. But I also recommend moving towards outcome 1. And because the favorer isn't in my class. So I think Ichinose-kun will not break his promise this way, Oreki said. Ichinose. For it. So don't drag her out. She didn't say she would definitely betray. Although, if the preferential one is in Class A, he will definitely betray. And if the preferential one was in Class D, she would also consider betraying for the safety of Class B. Only. If the preferential recipient is not in Class A or Class D, then perhaps choosing outcome 1 is the best option. She knew that the favored person in the rabbit group was not in her class. The class evaluation scores of Longjayuan's class will drop again when they return to school, which is considered a safe range for their class. In this way, there are only 3 students from Class B in the rabbit group. But one person can accumulate 1.5 million with 500,000. Still acceptable. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 188. And. It is not certain whether Oreki-san is telling the truth when he says that the person receiving preferential treatment is not in his class. Therefore, we can delay the time. There will be 2 meetings every day, so it has just begun. Then we can also observe everyone's words and deeds and other information about those who have received preferential treatment. Then Ichinose nodded slightly. In this case, I also agree that our rabbit team will move towards result 1. Then the same goes for our class C. Manabe and the others have been waiting for this opportunity and said quickly. Now that students from Class A and Class B are participating, it would be natural for them to participate as well. If everyone moves towards result 1, then it will be the end of the final exam and a huge amount of points will be obtained. This is an opportunity. If that's the case, then we, Class D, well, a few of us agree. Yukimura Terahiko turned to look at the other two boys. Tamura and Miyake nodded. No one turns down points. However, there was one person who did not express his opinion. Kuruzawa, you think so too? Yukimura read out the name of the 4th Class D student in the room. Kuruzawa Megami. Ah, me. Whatever, there's nothing wrong with getting more points anyway, Kuruzawa said while looking at his phone. And this nonchalant or disengaged attitude is striking. By the way. And Manabe noticed that Kuruzawa had been looking at his phone as soon as he entered the room. But. Is this what your Class D cell phones look like? Manabe said. Everyone in our class is white, why are you black? Manabe said this because the mobile phone held by Tamura of Class D was also black. These are backup phones. Our phones were put away by Horikita-san before 8 o'clock, Kuruzawa-san seemed to explain calmly. But. This scene made Ichino's a little confused. Since there is Oreki-san in Class A, it is difficult to inquire about the situation. So she felt that she could only explore again and again. But now, in fact, all the students in Class D don't even know whether they are selected as preferential recipients, not to mention whether they know the status of the preferential recipients in their class. And this is a unified strategy, so Class B students in other groups may also be troubled. Is it because Class D took the exam? Participated? But they are equivalent to abstaining directly. No useful information can be obtained at all. Then. This time the preferential candidate exam came to a deadlock. Discussion ends. At 10 o'clock, Teacher Mashima's announcement came from the ship. There are 2 mandatory discussion times for group members every day. 9-10 a.m. respectively. And 9-10 p.m. So the time to discuss it again is in the evening. Ichino seemed troubled because he had obtained a lot of information that made things more difficult during the first discussion. But there was nothing her classmates could do. Class A couldn't get the information, but Class D didn't know the information at all. I think not only our rabbit team, but also other teams chose outcome 1 as the best plan, Oreki-san said. Because if we cooperate well, it will be a plan where everyone can get a lot of points. Oh, Ichino's nodded. But he could only nod. Because as Oreki-san said, indeed, if you choose result 1, then a team can get 7-8 million points. In total, 12 groups can obtain a total of 80-90 million points from the school at one time. It's very tempting. But if you choose this, the evaluation scores of all classes will not change. And isn't this result what Class A and Class D want to see? So now Ichino almost suspects that Class A and Class D are joining forces again. Moreover, Class D did an incredible job this time. It's hard to doubt that it's a plan that students from Class D can come up with. Then Oreki-san's goal is to reach result 1. Then in the next year, the special exam scores given by the school may not be high. Then it will be difficult for them in Class B to move up. Moreover, I have to spend 3 years in this school, although I have 3 years to work hard with everyone. But if the gap is widened so much from the beginning and cannot be shortened, it will dampen everyone's ambition. So this option is not what Ichino wants to see. Ichino sighed softly. Oreki-san, where are you going next? She noticed that after Mr. Majima announced the end of the discussion, Oreki-san watched the students from Class D leave and then began to walk toward the corridor on one side. And this direction seems to be consistent with her. Go pick up Horikita-san, Oreki said. Will you pick up Horikita-san? Itchy nose blinked slightly. So you're dating? I cooperated with her for this exam, Oreki said. Our plans all lead to outcome 1. Itchy nose. So is that really the case? Itchy nose pushed his forehead gently. So he followed Oreki to the dragon team in room 203. The 14-person roster of the dragon group is as follows. Class A, Kahei Katsuragi, Ryoko Nishikawa, Nobu Tashiki, Koharu Yano. Class B, Seo Endo, Ryaji Kanzaki, Hitomi Tsub. Class C, Takumai Oda, Hidetoshi Suzuki, Masashi Sanada, Sho Ryuan. Class D, Kusita Kikyo, Hirata Yasuke, Horikita Suzuen. It can be seen that representatives from various classes are gathered here. Speak of it? Oreki-san said. Why wasn't Ichino-san assigned to the dragon team? Can I still choose my own group? Ichino blinked lightly. Ah, you mean Ryuan, Katsuragi-san, Kushida, Hirata-kun and Horikita-san were assigned to the dragon team. I'm also very curious, because it seems like the leaders of each class have been assigned to the dragon group. Then you're not here, Oreki said. But Oreki-san isn't in the dragon team either. Ichino winked cutely. And I'm just a member of Class B. Everyone is excellent. Ichino looked very humble. But this preferential candidate test is regular, and class representatives gather together to compete with each other for equal strength. Oreki believes that the school also hopes that they can compete with each other and improve. Oreki-san, on the other hand, is easy to talk to. He feels that Mr. Mashima knows his character. So throwing him into this kind of fringe group, he felt comfortable. However, it is very problematic that Ichino will be assigned to the rabbit team. Maybe it was what the head teacher in her class was thinking about. The reason why I think so. Look. The dragon group seemed to be quarreling. Standing at the door, you can see the scene inside. There are still 5 or 6 members of the dragon group inside. All the students in Class A have left. But all 3 students from Class B are there. The only student left in Class D is Horikita-san. Only. Now Ryuan is sitting, and Kanzaki Ryaji shows an angry expression. The 2 girls in his class behind him seemed to be crying. It seemed like something nasty happened during the discussion. Look at this state alone. Kanzaki Ryaji couldn't resist Ryuan at all. So if the dragon group's preferential treatment is in Class B, it is likely to be tested out. So, can't the head teacher of Class B see this? You must know that teachers also put their strength first. When he saw Ichino coming over, Ryuan immediately complained first. Ichino, you are so treacherous. You have been trying to obtain information about the favored person in our class. Because it was Ryuan who sent Kaneda-san and Ibuki-san here during Kojima's exam, and the purpose was to obtain information about the leader of our Class B. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 189. So this is back to you. Ichino-san calmed down from discussing with Oreki-san that he was almost autistic, and said in a calm tone. Long Yuen. Fart. He didn't send Ibuki there, he just sent Kaneda there, but Ibuki was obviously taken back to Class A, but was transferred to Ichino by Houtarou Oreki. In the discussion just now, Ryuan used the next step to confirm that the recipient of the dragon category favor was not in Class B. But he also felt sick. Because he saw that Hirata and Kushida were using black spare mobile phones. So I have to confirm whether something happened to the students of Class D. And now. I saw Oreki standing at the door. Oreki just waved his hand, and Horikita Suzun walked towards Oreki Houtarou. Long Yuen found that he suddenly understood. Chapter 085 Teachers are very perverted, Hoshinomiya is curious, who made Chibashira autistic? Ryuan watched this scene. Watching Horikita Suzun say nothing during the Dragon Team discussion, but when Houtarou Oreki arrived, he waved to her. Then Horikita Suzun followed immediately. At this moment, Long Yuan felt that he understood. This time in the exam, Class A and Class D were paired together again. And in the last Kojima exam, Oreki Houtarou must have joined forces with Kojinji. So, Class D's behavior of changing mobile phones this time also shows what this guy wants to do. Oreki. So seeing Houtarou Oreki about to leave, he decided to ask. What do you want to do in this exam? Oreki-san is here to pick up Horikita-san. Hearing Ryuan's voice, Oreki-san turned his head. What I want to do, we just want to make money in this exam, Oreki said. So I will choose outcome 1. Result 1. That is to say, do not rush to answer questions, take the test honestly, share the information of the preferential recipients, and then in the end, all members of the group except the preferential recipients will send an email to the school. As a result, everyone including the recipients received huge point rewards. And isn't this exactly what he thought? So, Oreki Houtarou will overlap with his plan this time? I believe you. Long Yuan immediately shook his head. Because he had been tricked several times, Ryuan started to think. He didn't think Oreki could be so kind. Oreki Houtarou makes money. Indeed. This guy has both money and money. Even the 800,000 points in his hand were defrauded as soon as he found out. So. This time the exam. The school randomly gives out 500,000 or even 1 million points to preferential recipients. Then will Oreki Houtarou let him go in vain? Even if you think about it, you know it won't. Because the other party doesn't even want the 50,000 he needs to raise when he returns to the ship. So no matter how you look at it, it is impossible to be so tolerant. So, how is it possible to see result 1, and then every student in each class gets a lot of points, and he doesn't move? Thinking of this, Long Yuan immediately felt something was wrong. I think I need to discuss it with my own think tank. After Oreki picked up Horikita-san, he also obtained information from her. During the discussion of the Dragon Group, Ryuan attacked Class B in a despicable manner, and then directly pointed out that the favored recipient of the Dragon Group was not in Class B. As for Class A, Katsuragi led the non-discussion session. As for Class D, she followed his instructions and sealed the students in Class D. So the students in Class D, holding the backup phone, had no idea whether they were the preferential recipients. But now she is the only one using her mobile phone, and the mobile phones of other students have been confiscated by her. Put it in the safe. Then go and replace the safe, Oreki said. You haven't forgotten our plan, have you? The 40 million plan requires all students to participate in Result 1. During today's discussion, I discovered that Ichinos and the others from Class B seem to want to conduct a Q/U0026 a session to find out who will receive the preferential treatment. But Class B is a little angel, which is equivalent to a little sheep. Just intimidate them to make them helpless. Students in Class A will support me. As for Class D, if you let them pass the exam like this in the first place, then those who receive preferential treatment will get rewards, and the others will skip the exam. Then as long as they are told to take the Result 1, they will still I can earn 250,000 and it's easy to handle, Oreki said. So, Class C is the only one left, right? Horikita-san nodded. Yes. Ryuan is a very cunning person. As you just said, he is trying to find out who is the favored person of the Dragon Group by any means necessary through himself. Then we need to think about how to make him behave obediently and let the students in Class C cooperate to complete Result 1. So we have to suppress his arrogance first. Let him have to cooperate with us, Oreki said. Or give him no choice. Go all his way. I see. Horikita-san nodded. So the two of them went to the safe together. The safe is checked against the key. Do you want to keep the contents of the safe? Yes, because Horikita Susan had just arrived in the morning, the safe staff knew her. She also holds the key. So I immediately moved the mobile phones containing Class D students to another safe. Because it is a very important item, I need to arrive with the key before opening it, Horikita said. But the staff member shook his head slightly. That's not possible. Because we verify the information against the key. Please keep the key safe. If the key is lost, you and your class teacher may be required to come as witnesses, the staff member said. At the same time, she also discovered that what Horikita Susan saved was the students' mobile phones. The students' mobile phones are all exclusive and customized in order to accurately receive information from the school at any time. Therefore, the cost is actually much more expensive than other mobile phones. In the past, students lost their money and applied for reissue from the school, but ended up spending 500,000 points. Even if it is estimated based on cost price, these 39 mobile phones together are valuable items. So is this done? Horikita-san got a new key and handed it to Oreki-san. It's not enough, Oreki-san said. Oreki-san kept the 306 safe that Horikita and Kushida saved at the beginning. But he also added a gift to the safe. There was an A4 paper with some words written on it. Oreki-san also paid points to the safe staff to keep it secret. This move is equivalent to replacing Class D's mobile phone with a safe. But others don't know that. This is the bait Oreki-san specially provided to Ryuan-san. If you want Class C to cooperate, then you have to ask Ryuan to cooperate. The opportunity for this exam is great and the score is great. Ryuan will not compromise so easily. Although Oreki-san's goal is 80 to 90 million points for all students. But just take them all away and all the students will rebel. So take half first. And even if it's half, Long Yuan probably won't be willing to part with it. At the same time, Ryuan was in the worst class in this exam, so he must be the most stubborn. So Oreki-san prepared a feast for him. Let him understand that there is a pattern to preferring people. Then he also prevented Ryuan from getting any information about favored recipients from other classes, and at the same time, all the information about favored recipients from his own class was exposed. So he had to cooperate. But Long Yuan is also a troublesome person, so he has to let the other party practice it himself. As for Oreki-san, the students in class A will definitely not rebel for their own sake. Moreover, it is the Katsuragi faction and the Itayanagi faction. Now both factions are not opposed to the current plan. Whoever betrays will basically be the best dropout if there is a dropout exam. And Ryuan is very poor now, so even if he wants to corrupt the students in Class A, he can't afford it. So Class A is safe. During Ryuan's discussion in the morning, the Ryua group attacked directly and unscrupulously, although Itchy Nose retaliated. But the students in Class B must also know that Ryuan made the classmates in Class B cry again. Not to mention the previous incident of Ibuki and Kaneda being spies. So, Ryuan was unable to obtain information about Class B's preferential recipients from Class B Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 190. Then it can only be from Class D. But it's a pity. All the mobile phones of Class D were taken away, so the students of Class D were also confused. So Long Yuan has actually hit a wall. But Ryuan won't behave unless he touches her again in person. So kind-hearted Oreki-san specially prepared some bait for him. Deliberately tearing a hole here in Class D. Let Ryuan discover, although the mobile phone here in Class D is saved, Horikita-san has the key to the safe. And the safe is a place that only recognizes keys. So if the key is stolen, wouldn't it be possible to see the preferential recipient information of Class D? Then, Horikita-san sent a group message to the students in Class D that everyone had saved the information on their mobile phones and saved it in the safe. The phones will be returned to everyone after the exam is over. He also took a photo of the key to the 306 safe. So all we have to do next is wait for Ryuan to bite the bait. After taking care of the safe, it was already noon. According to the rules of the exam, the assessment will be conducted for 3 consecutive days. Discussions will be held at 8-9 a.m. and 9-10 p.m. every day. The rest of the time will be rest time. So you can often see various students playing and enjoying themselves. However, considering that there was another Kamuro classmate, Oreki asked him out as well. The 3 of them had lunch together. But she was still the same as before. When she sat next to Sakayanagi, she was the only one cooking. But now, sitting next to him and Horikita-san, they were also silently cooking alone. And Oreki-san also noticed that Kamuro-san seemed to have been hit by something, as he seemed to not pay much attention to appearance in front of him. For example, today I am completely barefaced. In the past, I would put on a little lipstick or something like that. Have you fallen out of love? Oreki-san said after thinking for a moment. This is an experience I learned from Kushida-san. To be precise, when she spams, she sometimes mixes in some messages. For example, if a girl suddenly changes her hairstyle or puts on a new hairpin, she hopes to be praised. I also like to dress up cutely in front of my crush. After all, women only look good to those who please themselves. However, once this girl no longer pays attention to her image, she will either chase the person or give up. Then how do you hide your crush on your friend's boyfriend? By the way, Kushida-san's circle of friends is really chaotic. Therefore, Oreki-san cut out a part from it and prepared to try it out. That is, if a girl does not pay attention to her appearance, she has already fallen in love with a man, or has fallen out of love. Lost in love, Kamuro looked at him strangely. This probably looks like you haven't started falling in love yet. Kamuro-san, I hope you don't fall in love or anything like that while you're at school, Oreki-san said. There are some things you can do for me and Sakayanagi-san. If you are in love, then you may not be able to complete your work well. Huh. Kamuro-san looked at him with disdain. I always feel that Oreki Houtarou has made a living in Sakayanagi. Because Sakayanagi Yuzu probably said something similar to her. Kamuro-san, I hope you don't make any real friends while in school, because once you treat others as true friends, I'm afraid you won't be able to spend time with me. Although it is a bit excessive, I hope you can do it. So since you think it's too much, don't mention it. And Kamuro doesn't think he has any so-called true friends. I'm going to borrow some books. Oreki-san stood up and said. Do you want to see something? No, Kamuro-san thinks that his academic ability is enough. Because she has discovered that people are limited. Although Banliu has been teaching her to read, it is very difficult to add a few more points after she can get 80 points. And I don't think students have to study all the time, Kamuro-san said. Me too, Oreki agreed with this point. I think it's best if the study is completed efficiently and there is no need to review after class. That's why I never do homework after class, Oreki-san said. The students who had to study for 10 hours a day looked at them speechlessly. Horikita-san, don't be lazy, Tao, Oreki-san said. Now they are in a private room that has been specially opened and paid for. Oreki asked Kamuro to list the 12 groups he had collected. Then the preferential recipients of Class A and Class D are marked. Let Horikita-san start the derivation. In other words, this is for Horikita-Suzun to deduce the rules of preferential recipients, and then derive the preferential recipient information of Class B and Class C. If you want all students to comply with Result 1, you must obtain preferential status in all classes. If the information about the favored person in your class is leaked, then you can only choose to obey. Otherwise, the worst situation would be to have the information about the preferential treatment exposed, and then the exam would be forcibly ended. Of course, the need to intimidate Ichinos and the stubborn Ryuan also need to obtain information about the favored person in their class. Class B cannot afford to lose. At the same time very united. I have been spied on once during the Kojima exam, so I will take precautions. And Ryuan cannot afford to lose, so the spies arranged by Class A are basically useless. And Ryuan must have tried his best to protect the information about the favored recipients in his class. So it can only be deduced through rules. In the morning, Kamuro sent the known information about the preferential recipients and the list of all groups to Atayanaga-san. But it is a pity that Sakayanagi Yuzu needs to go to the school gate at 6 o'clock in the afternoon to receive information and regularly contact Kamuro-san. So it probably takes that time for her to start deriving the rules. So now, Horikita Suzun is asked to deduce the rules to obtain information about favored recipients in other classes. Do you want to know the rules in advance? No. But Oreki-san felt that Horikita-san couldn't deduce it in one afternoon. So I just wanted to let Horikita-san experience frustration. Oreki's evaluation of Ryuan is that he is unruly and unruly. And his evaluation of Horikita-san was stubborn. Because of the written examination, he did not read the papers. Instead, he read all the first-grade textbooks in various versions of the school over the past 10 years. Then I got full marks on the score. As a result, after Horikita-san found out, he borrowed the books he had borrowed again. And here on the ship, I am also reading hard. Study. He was probably not convinced because he usually didn't read, but he got full marks in the end. Then, the 10 hours of studying a day became 13-14 hours, and my body couldn't bear it anymore. Eventually got sick with a cold. This is his fault. Horikita-san, on the other hand, is very stubborn. Now that the special exam is still a plan worth 40 million, he is temporarily restrained. So she didn't read a book today. But it will be the same after that. My body will definitely not be able to hold on. But she wouldn't listen to ordinary advice. So, Oreki-san thought about this and prepared to let Horikita-san also experience failure. Her derivation in one afternoon was not as good as Sakayanagi-san's half hour. The three most difficult things in life are that my parents are ordinary, I am ordinary, and my children are also ordinary. Understand yourself, know your limits, and then find the point that suits you. Bring all the efficiency. This is the most energy-saving, Horikita-san. In a slightly philosophical mood, Oreki-san came to the library. There is also a library on the ship. All kinds of books can be borrowed. Although there are some textbooks, most of them are various foreign masterpieces. And unlike the school library, the books in this library are more up-to-date, and all popular books can be found on the shelves. What's it like? I caught a glimpse of Yuki Nishida. I want to be a housewife, but I have a problem with my youth. The love life of Master Sakuta and his wife Hakigaya's strength first classroom. There are also these light novels. And Oreki-san is not someone who likes reading. Reading is to gain knowledge. But there is also some knowledge that does not need to be added. Then he would appear here, with someone on an appointment. Has it been a long time since you've been here? Oreki walked towards the bookshelf that started with the letter J. There seemed to be a girl standing there with her head slightly raised, looking at the books on the bookshelf, and then trying to pick up the book. She has long pink hair, but it is styled into two big twin tails. Then wearing glasses with pink frames. Ah, ugh, no, she seemed startled. But